welcome to another Galaxy Garden update, and welcome to Let's Grow Shopping. Yeah, it's been a big fortnight. We've been harvesting a lot of spuds, thinning out carrots, parsnips, beetroot. I've got a few onions as well. First time ever in my life I've grown onions. Super stoked with that. Beans. Yeah, it's been quite prolific lately in the garden. And I noticed when I was planting out the seeds this month that, yeah, the spring rush is kind of over. Most of the summer crops are in the ground now, and I'm just keeping up the, the usual suspects like carrots, leeks, lettuce, parsnips, and beetroot. The main bulk stuff has been done and in the ground, and we're just waiting for the onslaught of produce. In fact, with beans, I've kind of jumped the gun a bit. I just noticed, looking at the forward sort of plan, that most of my beans are supposed to go in December, whereas they're all in already now, and some of them were in last fortnight. So yeah, I've got heaps of bean seeds in case I need to plant more later on, and so that's not a problem. We're actually wanting more and more beans to store for later, as well as eating as we pick them. These are the peas, finally dried out, so I'm going to take these off, and they're pretty much dry. It's been raining a bit, so the skin's a bit damp, but they're almost rattly inside, and so that's perfect for saving seed for next year. I'm just cleaning up two of the spud rows in the Galaxy Garden, so in Mercury and Venus, and out of that blank patch there at the end of the garden bed, I've just pulled all these spuds, but then also that tomato plant that has grown in amongst the potatoes, and it's just exploded in the last 2 weeks. It's absolutely massive, and there's loads of tomatoes on it, but I need to get rid of it to do other things. I just pulled this one straight out the ground with all of these potatoes hanging off of it, so you can see how they grow. Never usually comes out like that. The potatoes usually stay in the ground, which probably means I could have left this one to die off a lot longer before I harvested it. But yeah, these are the ones I bought, seed potatoes. I think they're pink eyes by the look of it. I can't remember what variety I bought. Before I put these in the ground, I just wanted to show you, this is last fortnight's tray full of corn and a load of other stuff, and on the end there where the gap is were these monsters. Look at the size of them. I've got a bucket full of them. So they're the borlotti beans, and in stark contrast, the snake beans haven't germinated on the other end, but the borlotti beans are loving it. So today's harvest, loads of spuds. These are the spuds that are essentially were Coles rejects, so they cost me nothing. And then this is one plant's worth of a seed potato that I bought. Some great new spuds there. I've thinned out the onions. Parsnips, I wanted to thin them out, and I'm guessing that all this kind of growth is because the root came out and hit a piece of wood in the wood chip and then branched off in all directions. Some of them are good, some of them not so good. And then a couple of beetroot. So we're definitely getting towards pulling veggies out every week. We've also been getting handfuls of bush beans out of the wicking beds as well. And in addition to the lettuce, silver beet, and leafy greens knocking about, fennel and the like, we've got quite a bit of veggies coming out at the moment. So this little experiment is proving to be quite a success. Now have a look at this one. This is great. This is the bed from last week, the wicking bed that I planted out with spinach, beetroot, 2 forms of lettuce, and I don't know if you can see it, but there are 2 rows of carrots in there, one there and one there, and then leeks. And the carrots You can see in the background I've got the boards on another 2 rows of carrots on this month's wicking bed. I lifted them off after about a week when I saw the shoots coming through and gave them a good watering. I kept them moist as well before that, so I lifted the boards up and gave them a bit of water every day it wasn't raining. And this bed's looking fantastic. I can't believe how well this has turned out. Like, the lettuce is nearly good to go already. And then this month's bed, I'm going to put some leeks in here eventually. They're just really hard to get out the pots at the moment because I waterlogged them. So I'm going to let them dry out a bit before I put them in. 2 rows of carrots again. A row of kohlrabi, beetroot and silver beet, and I put a few spring onions right down in the bottom here. So hopefully that turns out like the one behind it. Another thing we're getting a lot of is bush beans. These guys are fantastic, an absolute revelation. Every sort of 4 or 5 days we're getting a couple of handfuls of beans, so probably 2 meals worth of beans every 3 or 4 days, which is fantastic. There's about I would say about 8 plants in 2 different wicking beds. I've been nursing these for months thinking they were garlic, and then it turns out I left them way too long and they were leeks. But you get these wonderful flowers. So another different kind of flower, different kind of insects. There's a ladybug crawling up this one. Yeah, they look really pretty, and I can save some seed off that when it dries out eventually, so I'm happy to keep them in here for the time being. All the coriander's going to seed, so I'll let that finish and save a load from that. It's the first time we've ever grown coriander, so I'm keen to save my own seed because that seed is getting acclimatized to my garden, so this one hopefully work a lot better next year, and if I save the seed from those plants it'll get better the year after. And so I gradually get my own strain of coriander that grows quite well in my garden. It's 4 days since I harvested the spuds now, and the rest of the plants are looking in a very sorry state. I put some broccoli in this bed. God knows how it'll go, but hopefully it might grow. It won't do any worse than all the other broccoli I've tried to grow. And in Mercury, I put a row of parsnip and a row of leeks. And I've added to the cucumbers and planted all the rest of my seedlings. So I've really overloaded this trellis with cucumbers, and hopefully we'll get a lot out of it. Everything's still going really well in Jupiter. Got leeks coming on a treat, carrots in the middle, beetroot, and then the onions at the end. I've thinned out a few of these onions and put some eggplant, which will hopefully take over this whole bed eventually. So I've put 4 eggplants in at the moment and see how well they go. We've now got 3 trellises in a row, and the first one here is Saturn and full of tomatoes. Tomatoes are going great, the ones that I put in a while ago, and now I've got some capsicum on the ends, and I've wedged a few in between the tomatoes as well. I've started to pluck. I might do a separate video on managing tomato plants, but I've started to pluck the unwanted runners off the side of the tomato plants so that they just form one single stem that keeps going up, and I will have to put some string on them, I think, to get them up to the trellis. We had a storm last night which didn't do them too good at all. And then in the other half I've got last fortnight's tomatoes on this side, and I've just removed a few spinach. They'll do for my smoothie tomorrow, and put some new seedlings in on the other side. So I've got, how many is that now? I think there's 16 tomato plants on this one trellis of 4 different varieties. So hopefully that'll give us a decent harvest. And then in Uranus there's loads of corn. I filled out the corn with the silver mine corn. I've pretty much given up on parsnips in this garden bed, like the ones at the end here. There should be another row of parsnips here, but they're not really coming up. It might actually be too hot. But there's loads of corn interplanted between that, and also because the parsnips are due for, I want them to come out, I've put the beans in already as well. So I think there's 7 bean plants on this trellis. And in other news, there is our first ever avocado. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah, really hoping that turns into an avocado. This tree might actually be going to do something. It's never looked that healthy, but if it's going to produce avocados, it's fine by us. And we're shortly going to be inundated with peaches. Millions of peaches. Peaches for me. I'm inside the net here. This is the most prolific peach tree. For some unknown reason, the other peach tree, all the fruit has completely disappeared. I can't even find a trace of it, so it's not been eaten by something, or half eaten by something. And there's 1 peach left on it. Whereas in this one, there are hundreds of peaches. And for the second time since we've had this vine, or these vines, we're on the way to producing kiwi fruit, which is great. And the grapevine pergola is also producing the goods. Always get a lot of fruit off this vine, but it's extremely difficult to harvest it because the bottom half of the bunch ripens before the top half of the bunch, and by the time the top half of the bunch ripens, the bottom half has gone off and fallen on the floor, and the place smells like a brewery or a winery. In the greenhouse, I'm back down to 1 tray of seeds every fortnight, which is a big load off. Now that the major sort of summer veggies are in the ground, it's sort of gone back down to a sort of background level, just maintaining beetroot, leeks, lettuce, pak choi, and the usual suspects, which is a lot easier on me making videos and work. There are still loads of eggplants in pots. Some of them have really gone off this last fortnight, and those are the ones I put in the ground. But yes, they're doing heaps better in this greenhouse than I've put some outside, and they haven't done half as well, so I moved everything in here. Outside in the compost bay plant nursery, it's still full of tomatoes, beetroot. The turmeric's popping out now, so I'll get that in the ground when they all sprout. Still got mulberries, and then another load of tomatoes. So I had a bit of a revelation to myself the other day, thinking there's loads of cherry tomatoes in this garden that self-seed. Why not put all these tomatoes in the garden and see if we can get different varieties self-seeding every year? So yeah, I'm going to chuck most of them out in the garden, I think, unless someone wants any presents. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I will see you in a fortnight.